Today on the show, it's Comics Q&A, the show where you send me your Q's and I start wiggling about my A. No, that's not what I do. Gary Christopher Harriet says, favorite Tim Drake story and why? It would probably be from Unmasked through to War Games, just because I really love the character interactions between Tim and he has to decide whether his father is really the man that he sees as his father, or whether Bruce Wayne, Batman, is the man that he sees as his father. And I really liked how Batman and Tim Drake's father get into a huge argument because the both of them see Tim Drake as their son, even though obviously Tim Drake's dad is his dad, or at least that's how it would be for a little while, and then he would die and then Bruce Wayne would become his dad and he would become Tim Wayne. This obviously lasted right through till War Games, and this allowed for that brief story arc where Stephanie Brown was Robin, and that was so much fun and so sweet, and then it got really sad. I actually remember reading Stephanie Brown's death for the first time, and it was while I was in school, and I think it was during the winter because I vaguely remember it snowing for some reason, but I just remember reading the death while I was in class and just shutting the comic, and as soon as that class was over I just went home. Like, the school day wasn't finished, but I just didn't care. I just went home because I couldn't handle it. So yeah, Stephanie Brown's death is definitely one of the comic book characters' deaths that have impacted me most at that point in my life, so I would definitely say Unmasked through to War Games are my favourite Tim Drake stories. Annex Ramanini says, do you ever think that the New 52 and the main continuity will ever merge? Because if it did, it'll probably be pretty bad because it's too early. That's actually an interesting question because I was in the comic store the other day, as always, and I was talking to the guy that runs the comic store. And both of us realized that most of DC's major stories are kind of wrapping up in April through to July of next year, meaning that is a classic sign for a continuity reset. I do think the best situation would be is if they published the New 52 and the old continuity side by side. Aga Brr says, was Jean Grey ever cool? Personally, I've always kind of liked Jean Grey. She's definitely not my favourite character, but I've never disliked her. I think a lot of people just see the crazy that is her life and can't get over that to see what a character she is. She just wants to live a normal life, at least as normal as a mutant can live their life. She doesn't want the Phoenix, she doesn't want to be all-powerful, she doesn't want to be Jean Grey, oh my god, Phoenix. She just wants to be herself. But her life is just so messed up, it just doesn't allow for that. But I have heard the current incarnation of Jean Grey is a lot of fun. I'm extremely behind on X-Men titles at the moment, so I can't really give you a definite answer. Lindsay Palicios says, are only the original creators of comic book characters the only ones allowed to write storylines for the characters and no one else, or is that rule only for certain comic book characters? So I think you're asking, are the writers that created a character the only ones allowed to write that character? And of course that's not the case, otherwise we wouldn't have Superman stories at the moment. That is only the case for one writer and one group of characters, and that is Neil Gaiman and The Endless, because it's in his contract. This was not the original plan on DC's end, it had always been the plan on Neil Gaiman's end, but in terms of DC, they kind of saw that Sandman changed the industry. Sandman was now a classic in comic book history. So Neil Gaiman kind of came forward one year and said, so can we just make sure that no one else will write my characters? And DC were like, no, are you insane? And then about a year later, DC went to him and were like, hey, we're gonna make sure no one else can write your characters. And he was like, okay. I kind of respect it, but at the same time, I'm kind of upset because I would have loved to have wrote Death one day. Okay guys, that is it for today. If you have any questions for next month's Comics Q&A, please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more Comics Q&A. And also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon so I can make bigger and better and more history videos. And also don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.